Good morning, dear students, and a warm welcome to Samhita Tattva Vichara, a virtual Gurukulam and a predecessor to a real Gurukulam with the vision of Swargiya with Padmasri P.R. Krishnakumarji in mind. The program is organized by Aashirwad Health and Education Trust, supported by the Ayurveda Pharmacy Coimbatore Limited. It was Krishnakumarji's vision to prachar Ayurveda for everyone who seeks the knowledge. One of his last unfulfilled visions was to establish the lost Gurukula Sampradaya and to bring back the glorious days of Ayurvedic education. We are committed to his vision. Let's take a moment to pranam the memories of our Guruji. Today we have with us Guru Vaidya Sri V. Vasudevan. It is a great honor and a pleasure to introduce him to all of you. Acharya V. Vasudevan is an eminent scholar in Ayurveda, the Kerala martial art, clarified to yoga, Vedantas, and spirituality. He is an exponent of Indian knowledge system. He has mastered other Vedic disciplines such as Tarka, Sankhya, and Vaisheshika. He has been the disciple of Acharya Pumuli Neerakandan Nambudiri of Kerala over 2 decades. He was a trustee and director of Aashirwad Vidyapeetham under the aegis of Ayurveda Pharmacy Group. He has been more than 40 years of experience in teaching Vedic knowledge. As a guru, he has proven record in imparting the tenets of scriptures authentically in their true form to masses of people. He has students, shishyas around the world, thousands of them who look up to him to for his wisdom and his knowledge in all these sciences. He has done presentations, various national, international conferences and seminars in Ayurveda, yoga, and allied disciplines in UK, Germany, France, Holland, Italy, Switzerland, Ireland, and USA, and of course in India as well. Sir, welcome to Samhita Tattva Vichara. It is a great honor to have you.
Namaskaram. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sri Gurubhyo Namah. Pranams to my Guru and Sri Krishnakumarji, by whose grace and vision that we are here. The Gurukula concept is very rich and valuable concept in the study and understanding of the Shastras, the Vedic system, Ayurveda, and many other subjects of Indian origin. Gurukula system is not a teacher and student relationship. Gurukula system is a tradition. Gurukula system is part of a culture. Gurukula system is part of Shastra. We do have very profound knowledge systems, tradition and culture, which was handed over through generations. We do have thousands of years history, but we all know that even Ayurveda, its Samhitas are very old. written many thousands of years back. Guru is in the center of knowledge. Guru is in the center of the Shastra. Guru is in the center of everything for seekers of knowledge. See, I am also part of a Gurukula tradition. I had a guru, and he was a great scholar, not only in one subject, various subjects, not only in Ayurveda or yoga, and he was a eminent scholar in various facets of Indian knowledge system. He was not only a person who is a scholar, he was a great gymnast, a martial art practitioner, even a hunter, a great yogi. So I could find everything in him. That's why I totally surrendered to him. When I met him first, I had no idea what he was. The first sight itself, I had an impression that he is a great personality whom I should follow in life. I just did what I felt inside, though I had a lot of other obstacles in my life to accept him and to surrender to his fate. But I was very bored at that time and to choose my path as a youngster. I met my guru in 1974. First, I went to him to learn martial art. That was my interest because when I was in the college days, I was a sportsman. So I had a lot of interest in the physical culture. And that really prompted me to do more. And that time my brother was also going to him for learning martial art. And he took me there. Then he started this martial art clarified in a simple way. And he realized that I am very flexible. I was very flexible at that time with my body. Then this clarified martial art practices only in the rainy season and the winter season. During summer, there is no practice. So during that time, we started the gymnastics. Then he put me on the parallel bar, Roman rings, weightlifting, and so many other acrobatic practices. So what happened is there had a turning point in my life. After 3-4 years of practice, I had a health issue. That was really annoying me. And I told my guru that I had got some health issues and having some pain in my anal part. Then he checked, examined me, and he told that you got Bhagandara, that is fistula. So it is better to stop or reduce the practice or minimum practice of clarified. Then you can start yoga. I was not really knowing what was yoga at that time. Then next day, he asked me to come to his house. Then when I went there, he was waiting for me and asked me to sit in a mat, and he showed the different postures and asked me to do it. I didn't know really what I was doing. Then it continued every day on a daily basis. He put me on intense yoga sadhana. I really liked it. Along with the yoga sadhana, there had some prescription, medical prescription for the Bhagandara. And he asked me to continue it for 41 days. Actually, there is no cure for that. If yoga and Ayurvedic medication together as a combination works, then it would definitely help you in your life. Otherwise, if you go to modern medicine, surgery is only option, which will not give you a cure for that, because there will be recurrence. Anyway, there had a lot of pathya, without salt, without spices, without many things that I was supposed to follow the disciplines for 41 days. And that was the first time that I had this Bhagandara. And that was the last time I had the Bhagandara, because never I had in my life. It was long back, about 45 years ago. And with that, it totally removed. I never had any problem of fistula. And that was really a turning point to come to learn the Shastras, starting from yoga. He had given me many books for reading. So started with the modern books on yoga, the modern interpretation, because he knew that I would understand only if the books are with modern interpretation, because that time I had no idea of what is Shastra. So it was really amazing experience. And that went on. Then, after a few days, he told me, "You know Sanskrit?" Then I said, "Yes, I know Sanskrit. I have learned in the college and school." Okay, then come next day, tomorrow you come. And he had given me a book to read when I visited him next day. He asked me to open the book. I opened it, asked me to read. I read it. It was Caraka Samhita, the first book I learned. I opened the pages. He asked me to read, and he started explaining without knowing what Yoga Shastra or Yoga Darshana is. Then this practice continued, one book after another. Like that, completed 23 books on yoga, the classical texts. In most of them, there had translations, which is called Bhashya, Bhashya and Vriti, Vartika. Finally, that we came to the Patanjali Yoga Sutra with its Bhashya of Veda Vyasa and its Vriti of Bhojaraja. It took 1 year to complete the entire 195 sutras of Patanjali Yoga Sutra with its Bhashya and Vriti. And that was a real eye-opening experience to me, the study of Yoga Sutra. Then I realized what is yoga, how I should practice. I intensified my practice. He asked me to practice every day for 8 hours, which I could not make. But I could manage 4 days, four hours in a day. Like that, we both together practiced every day for many, many years. And after that, I started learning the advanced yoga texts in the form of Upanishad. The Yoga Shastra is in three different realms. First, the book is Prakarana, the basic text with various kinds of practices and explaining their benefits. The second phase, the study is the darshana, because yoga is a darshana, one among the six darshanas. That was the second phase. It was a philosophy, a different perspective of the truth. And finally, the third phase, yoga is Arsha. Arsha means Rishi Prokta, said by the Rishis, which is close to Vedanta. The Vedanta sutras, the Vedanta slogans made into practice in the Upanishads of yoga, like Yoga Kundalini Upanishad and various other Upanishads. With that, the study becomes complete. Today, we don't have any of these practices of learning of yoga in these three different phases. We do have the practice today of some exercise, yogic exercise and breathing exercise, which has nothing to do with the real traditional yoga practice. The knowledge has to come from the higher, because the knowledge is divine and you have a divine connection, and that connection is made by your guru, and guru is instrumental in bringing or imbibing the knowledge of the higher to the individual. So guru is not just a human being. Guru is the mediator of the divine and the individual. In that sense, if you start a Gurukula, that will be a great success. And that will be really helpful for many people, not only now, but over generations, and also to the forthcoming generations. That is my belief, because I am a product of the Gurukula. Not an academic Gurukula, a real tradition. And this tradition has come to an end today. We don't have this. See, after that, he told that you are now good and you got enough knowledge, enough information about Yoga Shastra. But you don't have a clear understanding of the body and its functions, its survival, and its derangement. So you should know more about the body, and that should be the next focus. So your yoga will be more refined. So in that way, he initiated me or put me into the studies of Charaka Samhita. I like Charaka Samhita very much, because that is the book or the Samhita which I am proficient in, because it took a lot of time for me to learn it. Each and every sloka from the beginning to the end, the 120 chapters, not missing even a single sloka from it, and in 8 sthanas. I like Charaka Samhita very much. I would say that is the best book ever had in the Ayurveda Shastra. Then my studies went very well, and then started learning Upanishad, Tarkashastra, Sankhya Shastra, Vaisheshika, everything according to his interest. It was not me who is to decide what I should learn, because he knew me better than what I knew about me. So, like that, it helped me a lot. Then, along with that, he had given me many other things like to read about dialectic materialism. I have learned also the materialism and also the text on Buddhist philosophy. Everything to understand very clearly and get a clear and distinguished understanding about the original Shastras, how these Shastras are different from the materialism, how these Shastras are different from the Charvakas, how these Shastras are different from Buddhism. That helped me a lot. Then I traveled a lot, not in India, even abroad, which helped me a lot to understand what our culture is and how much treasure of knowledge there that we possess. When I come to my career, I was first a teacher of yoga in the Ayurveda College Coimbatore in 1980, 81. That was the period when I first came to Coimbatore. My first career started from there because my guru sent me here to work. It was also not my intention. He asked me to go and work there, that's all. Then I met Krishnakumarji and his brother Chandrasekhar Varia and all the elders of Ayurveda Pharmacy Group. And they had given me a nice opportunity to work as of my interest. Then I started teaching yoga in the Gurukula. That time the Gurukula was started, a BAMS Gurukula. Can you imagine? Nowhere in the world. Where I was a teacher. So I had the experience of being a Shishya. I got an experience of being a guru. Today we don't have many gurus. Many people are trying for Gurukula system and creating Gurukula. But the Gurukula is not really working because we have the Gurukula, we can create the facilities. From where you get the gurus? That's the big question today. Because the tradition has come to an end. And these subjects are not the topics or the subjects of academics. Ayurveda has come to the level of academics, but rest of the Indian knowledge systems are not. So in the academics, it cannot have a clear boost because a lot of intrinsic subjects, knowledge in Ayurveda. The spirituality is the main content of it. The very spirituality is the main content of the life of everyone because a human being is spiritual, not physical. The physical manifestation it's only a manifestation of your spirit as long as the spirit is there. So, the spiritualism is a hidden part of Ayurveda without which it is like a corpse. The whole light of it, the influence of Ayurveda is that spirituality. And that is what one has to imbibe in the study of it. And this is not a subject of university. I would say that Ayurveda is a universal subject, not a subject of the university. It's not a university subject. With that idea that Krishnakumarji started the Gurukula in 1978 with a new syllabus of BAMS, and he tried the best with the traditional gurus of those days in Sanskrit, Ayurveda, and other allied disciplines. But after some time, it has come to an end that the system has again changed. Those days he started pre-Ayurveda. The university did not agree with that. After some time, due to the many reasons, the technical, political, and social influence, that we had to stop the group in the academics. But I was part of the Gurukula as a guru, the time when it was started. And I really know the students who are the stalwarts of Ayurveda today. They are from this great Gurukula system, part of that. And they are really benefited. The top Ayurvedic doctors of today, most of them, they are working in India, abroad, and many other places. They are the products of this Gurukul, where I was a teacher. Then, after some time, he told me that why do you continue with this yoga teachings and little Ayurvedic teachings there in the college? The whole lifetime you have to be a teacher like this. There is no point in doing that. Why can't you start a Gurukula separate? A free Gurukula for the study of Ayurveda, yoga, and allied disciplines like Vedanta, philosophy, and many other things. We started it with his advice and with his foundership that we have started in 1995, Arsha Yoga Vidyapeetham Trust. And I was a director and trustee of that. Without any money, without any background, we had only a thatched shed for yoga practices. There was no money for salary. I was there. Some of my students of college, they also worked with me, and we have started with yoga classes. And this has become in future that developed, and we have started international courses on Ayurveda, yoga, Vedanta, spirituality, and many other things. A lot of foreigners came to our place. And also I traveled abroad for conducting yoga programs, Ayurvedic programs, and like. And we had a Gurukula where Indian students were taken for studies, which I started with a group of 10 students in the beginning. Then every year, 10 students. Like that, it continued till 2015. Then I had to stop it due to some other reasons. But I know that most of these students who came for the Gurukula, they were given a certificate from our institute, but not a recognized course by the university or any of the government bodies. It was totally purely a private education program. Krishnakumarji insisted that we should not get into a university or any other, because when we started the Gurukula and we had to stop the Gurukula, because it was a university program. And they have their stipulated ideas, stipulated syllabus which we are supposed to follow. So the mainstream is the academic, and side by side we'll have the Gurukula. There is no point in doing that. So if we don't have money, doesn't matter. If we do in a simple manner, doesn't matter. But those students who really came out of this 8 years of free Gurukula education, they could not survive or help me after their course because there had a great demand for them, and most of these people were drawn by other people abroad without any question, because quality is always quality. And if you want to maintain the quality, you should work hard. And once you are accepted, once you are recognized, then you become the Guru. Guru is not recognized by university. Guru is recognized by the Shishyas. So like that, I got the experience of running a Gurukula, a free Gurukula, and a lot of effort that I put in to run that. And now I am with the same institution, Ayurvedic Trust, as an advisory. I got 40 years of experience with Ayurvedic pharmacy and 13 years of close relationship with our beloved Krishnakumarji. With the grace of my Guru and also the love of and blessings of Krishnakumarji, that I could achieve something in my life, though I don't want to achieve anything, but things are coming in. And I feel that by following a tradition, that my life so far is very successful. And the same thing that I expect in many people, so that Krishnakumarji's mission is still being continued in AVP. And this program is also part of it. And I'm also part of this Gurukula teaching of AVP as a Guru. And we will still continue this mission because it's a need of the time. So if we want to make the quality Vaidyas and also want to compete with the medical world, we should produce great scholars of the system. It is possible. We do have time, and still we do have the Acharyas here who can really transmit the knowledge in its true form. People are asking for pure Ayurveda or genuine Ayurveda today. Is there something like genuine Ayurveda? Is there an Ayurveda which is not genuine? I don't think so. Knowledge is always genuine. Then why do we have this? Or why people have a misunderstanding of this? A genuine Ayurveda or pure Ayurveda. What is pure Ayurveda? Ayurveda is pure. It's not handed down in the purest form. That's why we feel that we want pure Ayurveda. What is missing there, as I told, the mediator? That mediator is the Guru. We have Gurukul. A lot of people are now trying for making Gurukula. But without Guru, how is it possible? The Guru relationship, Guru and disciple, Guru Shishya, this relationship is not a social relationship. Like in many ashrams that you can see that hundreds and thousands of people become the devotee of a great Acharya. The Acharya never know who is the disciple. Disciple has seen the Acharya, but not initiated. This is not the way that Gurukula should function. The relationship of Guru and disciple is not a memory, it's a living experience. My Guru passed away in 1997. He left his body. He is a living legend in me. If I am here on this platform and speak to you, that is because of him. So that memory is never gone, and that's a living memory, a living experience. So that is the idea of Gurukula for all of us here. And still, even after Krishnakumarji's passing away, the AVP is still continuing the mission of developing a Gurukula, where we are all part. And I hope that it will be a success. And I pray and also pray all of you for the success of this great endeavor. Thank you. Then we come to the topic today. The topic is, again, it's part of Charaka Samhita. Charaka Samhita is not an easy text. Charaka Samhita is in our BIMS syllabus. Their entire book you cannot study in 1 year. And as per the syllabus that you are supposed to learn the whole book, Charaka Samhita, 120 chapters, it is impossible. I devoted 6 years of time to learn and complete this book. And our BIMS duration of the course duration is lesser than that. This Charaka Samhita is my favorite text. It is another version of Agnivesha Samhita. Agnivesha Krite Tantre Charaka Pratisamskrite. Charaka modified and it's rewritten, the Agnivesha Samhita by Charaka, and the later part of it was filled by Dridhabala. Dridhabala Sampurire. Dridhabala was another author of Charaka Samhita on the second part. It has two Vyakhyana, major one, Chakrapani and Gangadhara Vyakhyana. Chakrapani Vyakhyana is, the commentary of Chakrapani is very deep. The commentary of Gangadhara is very broad. We need both to understand it better in the deeper sense and the broader sense. Without a proper Vyakhyana, it is not easy to understand it fully in its true form. Because the entire Samhita is like a sutra in a portion, like Brahma Sutra or Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which needs a lot of explanation to get a clear picture of what the author meant by each sutra. Similarly, each chapter of it needs a lot of explanation to understand fully. There are two main Samhitas, as you know. One is Charaka and other is Susruta. The two schools of Ayurveda, two lineages, the lineage of Bharadwaja and lineage of Dhanvantari. The Bharadwaja lineage is the parampara of Charaka, and Dhanvantari lineage, the parampara of Susruta. And they go parallel to each other, and there are not even a contradiction in the statements and the text of both these Samhitas. Why you need these two Samhitas? Because the Ayurveda is in 8, it has 8 branches or 8 limbs. Like a human being, like a human body, which has got the limbs, head, hands, body, trunk, hair, legs, like that. If you personify it, then it has many different limbs. Similarly, Ayurveda has the Bala, Kaya Bala Grihottvanga Shalyadam Stradarabhishan Ashtavankani Tasyahu. It has 8 different limbs. So, in any of the Samhitas, like Charaka or Sutra, these limbs are not complete. In Charaka Samhita, the Shalya part or the Shalakya, the surgical, and the Urdhvanga Chikitsa, these things are not detailed. So those things are available from Sushruta. And many of the Kaya Chikitsa part of Charaka Samhita are missing in the Sushruta. So, in order to have the total and the complete knowledge of Ayurveda, you need or you require these two Samhitas. One is filling the gap of another, and they are interconnected. In many cases where surgical treatment is required, Charaka says, especially you can see that in Gulma, Tatra Dhanvantari Yana Mata, you need to follow the path of Dhanvantari, the methods of Dhanvantari in surgical practice. Similarly, Sushruta says that in certain occasions you need to recourse to Charaka Samhita to understand it better. And what some Vaghada did, Tebhyodi Viprage Kirnebhya Praya Saradharachaya Kriyade Ashtanga Hudaya Nadi Samsheva Vistara. Later on, compiling those two Samhitas, Vaghada made his own treatise, Ashtanga Sangraha, an elaborate description of the 8 angas. Then, thereafter he made that Ashtanga Hridaya in brief, an abridged version of Ashtanga Sangraha, which again cover all the 8 limbs of Ayurveda. It's very clear and evident that when you open the Ashtanga Hridaya, you will understand that later part of the Chikitsa, that is Sutraasthana and all, he has collected information of Chikitsa or treatment and medicine from Sushruta. In the Chikitsasthana, Vaghara clearly follows Charaka because Charaka is very proficient in Kaya Chikitsa. So like that we should know exactly the content of each and every book, especially the Samhitas, and the importance of the books not the same. Samhita is always on the higher side. That is valuable, and from Samhita that there's a root of other Prakarana Granthas that had come later. So Charaka Samhita is very interesting to read, and some people would say that Charaka Samhita doesn't have a proper order. I don't know how this kind of comment that people could make about the great treatise from which we got all informations about this great knowledge and also passed on to generations. The order of Samhita is something different from other texts. The method of learning makes you to understand that Charaka doesn't have a proper order. Because the mind lost the order to understand the sequence of chapters and the sthanas in Charaka Samhita. Charaka Samhita is part of higher learning. That is the thing. And for that, a neophyte is not eligible to learn it. And you need the knowledge of darshanas for proper understanding of Charaka Samhita. You can find it very clearly that Chakrapani, the commentator of Charaka, is a Vaisheshika. By reading the Vyakhyana, you can very clearly understand the implication of that philosophy. And also the Swathina, the control or the needed involvement of Vaisheshika in Charaka Samhita. Because every Shastra has got a base, and every Shastra has got the base of the Darshanas. Darshana is part of studies in a Shastra. We do have the 6 Darshanas here, apart from the Veda, Vedanga, and Upanga. The Vidyasthana, which is called Vidyasthana. There are 18 different types of Vidya in the Vedic system. They are the 4 Vedas, Rik, Yajus, Sama, Atharva, and the Vedanga, the 6 Vedanga, Shiksha, Kalpa, Kalpa, Vyagrana, Nirutti, Jyotisha, and Chandas. And its Upanga, the Veda, the Vedanga, the limbs of Veda, and Upanga, again the sublimb or auxiliary. The Upanga are Nyaya, Mimamsa, Purana, and Dharmashastra. Like that, core knowledge is 14 core knowledge. In addition to that, and these 14 knowledge altogether is called Dharmasthana. In addition to that, there are 4, that is the Upavedas. The Upaveda, Arthashastra, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Ayurveda. Ayurveda is an Upaveda of Atharva Veda, says Sushruta. But other people say that Ayurveda is the Upaveda of Rigveda. Which is correct, which is wrong. Both are correct. Ayurveda is the Upaveda of Rigveda because many parts, like the knowledge of the herbs, the theology, the various applications of treatment are taken from Rigveda. On the other side, you have the Atharva Veda, and as per Sushruta, the surgical sections and the Bhuta Vidya. And these things are part of Atharva. And Atharva Vihita Shanti, the various rituals mentioned as Deva Vyapasraya Chikitsa are taken from Atharva. So some speak about that as part of Rigveda and some other as Atharva Veda. But Ayurveda is from all the four Vedas and more related to Atharva Veda. And next is Rigveda, like that. So when you come to that, these are the 18 Vidyasthanas. 14 plus 4, 18 Vidyasthanas. The Sutraasthana Samhita is considered to be a little inferior from the ancient time compared to other because it has certain practices which are not appealing to everybody, like the practice of rituals as Atharva Chanti and surgical methods. So Sushruta is, in olden days, Sushruta was not taught. Sushruta is only read, not taught. So like in music, the Varali Raga is not taught. It's only listened and start singing the same way. But considering all this, that Sushruta is a great work and it's equal to Charaka Samhita. See, here we have this Trishodhiya, that is the subject what we are going to discuss today. A chapter from the Sutraasthana of Charaka Samhita, chapter 18. Chapter 18. And this part, that it is, as I told you, that it's a continuation of the previous chapter. Kiyanda Shirasi is the chapter before. That is the 17th chapter. Kiyanda Shirasi Yona Saptadeshwadhyaya. The 11th chapter is called Kiyanda Shirasi. And the 18th chapter is Trishodhiyam. Shotha is the word used. What is Shotha? Shotha is Shopha. Shopha is Shvayathu. So these are the different words used for that. Shotha, Shvayathu, Shopha. In Sutraasthana, the Acharya used the word Shotha. Athada Trishodhiyam Adhyayam Yakshyasyama. And that's the title of the chapter. And the same, the 12th chapter of Chikitsa. Shvayathu Chikilsidam Yakshyasyama. Idihasmahu Atrayadyo Mahashaya. So both are one and same, though named differently. Shvayathu, Shotha, Shopha. These are synonyms. Why it comes next to Kiyanda Shirasi? We don't understand from the text. We understand it from the Vyakhyana of Chakrapani. Chakrapani clearly says why. Purvadhyaya Pidaga Uktaha. In the previous chapter, he explained in detail about different types of Pidaga. Pidaga is what? The different kinds of growth or formation or kind of abscess that are formed in different parts of the body. And it has been classified into 7 according to our Shastra. There are 7 types of Pidaga. Mostly, the Pidagas are found in Prameha Rudis. Prameha, the diabetic, what we call today. But Prameha, that word, diabetic is not the right presentation of it is a wrong interpretation, because prameha is not exactly diabetic. In a diabetic condition, prameha occurs when there is a state of polyuria, where there is a lot of profused urination, prabhuta vilamutrata, and that is the characteristic feature of that disease, the excessive urination with lot of turbidity in it, prabhuta vilamutrata. If that is found, then definitely you can say that it is prameha. And besides, there are different symptoms appearing in different parts of the body, like, and also the lakshana, rupa, and many other things, which are often missing in diabetic conditions. So diabetic is a condition where the blood sugar that is detected, the glucose in the blood, it could happen in many kapha dominant conditions, which is not exactly a profused state of urination. So when there is prabhuta vilamutrata, that is a real identifying feature of prameha. So each disease has got some particular or peculiar characteristic features. Like for Pandu, Pandu, we call it anemic. It's not anemic. A Pandu is not diagnosed or identified by a report from the laboratory with a hemoglobin level. They take a report, and in the clinical investigation, if your hemoglobin level is low, then you are anemic, you have Pandu. That is the present understanding of the disease, mostly in the Ayurveda circle, which I don't agree with. Pandu is a major disease, which is part of many modern diseases, because the diseases in Ayurveda, which is called Pandu or Swayathu or Prameha, is not a single entity or single disease. It's a complexity of many diseases are involved in it. You can see that even in Shodha, that Pidaga is Shodha, Visarpa is Shodha, and Arshas is Shodha, Pagandara is Shodha, Galaganda is Shodha. See, it's a group of diseases. When you go to this, allopathic system, the modern medicine, that each disease is different, but each disease is a condition in Ayurveda because there is a common factor in it. This common factor is there in all diseases which you bring into the group called Shodha. So in Ayurveda, disease is not a syndrome, is not combination of many symptoms. A disease has got a real formation from the dosha to its manifestation. That is chaya, prakopa, and prasara, and sthana samsraya, vyakti, and peda. First it is chaya, an increase in the sthana, then moving from there, prasara, then reaching somewhere and manifesting in that and exhibiting. All this is a process together, as a continuous process from the onset to the manifestation. And this process is called samprapti, and samprapti is hidden, which you don't see, and you making inference of the samprapti with anumana pramana and pratyaksha pramana. And that inference is bringing you and getting you the knowledge of the samprapti, which is hidden. It happens in the subtle body, a samprapti. That is the pathogenesis, not exactly the word pathogenesis, it means something different, but samprapti is something different. But we use the word pathogenesis for that. From the onset of disease, the process of its manifestation till the end, that is called samprapti. A jara is jara when Jara is not the temperature. As we are testing today, 98, 99, 100-degree temperature is Jara, not. That temperature is there, which is only a symptom, not the disease. Temperature is a symptom, not a disease. So with the symptom, you assume or you understand that there is Jara. So Jara has got some prapti, that is Tatra Prakopito Vayu, Amashe Manu Pravisya, Praktisthana Durpranam Bahirnirasya. Like that, there is a process of samprapti finally coming to an end at the skin, Tok Gata, finally reaching to the skin. And when you touch the skin, you feel that temperature, there is heat. But what is the feeling of the patient? He feels cold because his Agni is removed or eliminated from its place and dispersed, and finally coming to a place where it is not supposed to. That is the skin. So this process is a disturbance, and that process you have to bring back the Agni to its position. That is the treatment given. So it is not just a syndrome, it is much bigger than that, and it's a process. And that process you can find common in many diseases. So when you take the Shotha, for example, it is said Trishodhiya. Then you understand Shotha is of three types, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. But see how many diseases are mentioned in the text and how many diseases are yet to mention in it. Hundreds of diseases are not mentioned. Only few diseases are mentioned for your understanding of how to approach it, how to approach the disease. So there is a common factor inherent in all types of Shotha. And that makes it so it is much easier for us to approach the disease and give treatment and also choosing medicines for it. Because it is a common factor and that you can apply in different types of diseases. So that is why Acharya said that diseases are infinite, but doshas are not. Doshas are limited. Only 3 doshas are there. But with these 3 doshas, there are infinite number of diseases. Similarly, a single disease is not a single entity. Like the 3 doshas, as I said, Shotha is not just Shotha. Shotha is the basic condition that you can find in many diseases. Shotha means Ulsetha Samanya. That is the definition given for Shotha. Ulsetha Samanya. So there is a generalized understanding of Shotha as Ulsetha. What is Ulsetha? Ulsetha is an elevated skin condition. There is an edema, there is a swelling and inflammation happening either locally or in the whole body. So Shotha can be a local, that is Ekadesha, or the whole body, the full body, that is Sampurna. So it could be local or it could be the whole body. Sarvanga Shotha and Ekanga Shotha. Ekanga is local and Sarvanga is the whole. So like the Prabhutabila Mutrata in Prameha, Panduttum Teshu Chathikam, that is the identity of Panduranga. Pandutvam Teshuja Athika. Pandutvam, there is paleness in Pandu. And that is the real understanding or definition of Pandu. Not just anemic. So Pandu is a disease where you can find or you can bring into that many other diseases like a renal failure, a thyroid disease or a cancer or many other. All these are treated in a single line, but just knowing the location and also the little difference in the doshas, but the paleness that is common in all. So the idea, the Chikitsa Sutra is the same, but Chikitsa Paddhati or the techniques used are different. That's all. So like that, it's not single. Shodha is group of multiple disease. So there is multiple possibilities and multiple links to each and every disease. That is a connection with the Pidaga of the previous chapter. Pidaga is kind of abscess. There are 7 types of Pidaga mentioned: Sharabiga, Katsabiga, Jali, Sarshabi, Allergy, Vinada, Vidrithi, like that. 7 types are there. And each one is different from the other, but a common platform that all has having the same kind of abscess or same kind of unnadattva, that is we'll say thasamanya, as I told earlier. There is some kind of growth, there is some kind of edema, there is some kind of swelling that makes it. So what is actually that kind of we'll say that, and what's the reason for it? And what is the common factor that inherent in all these types of different diseases to bring in the same platform or bringing into the same kind of treatment? Let us see that. In Pidaga, there is also Vidrithi in it. Vidrithi is a type of Pidaga, a kind of abscess, which is mostly in most of the cancers today are Vidrithi. But we interpret in a different way as Arbuda as cancer. What is Arbuda? Arbuda Mahadi Granthi. A big abscess is called Arbuda. That's all. But Vidrithi has got a different formation. So Vidrithi, Mahadi Granthi. So Granthi and Vidrithi are treated in the same line. The same medicines, same approach. So Vidrithi, Shikra Vidahitvad Vidrithi. Shikra Vidaha is happening in Vidrithi. Shikra Vidaha. Shikra, quick. Vidaha is a condition. What is Vidaha? Erecta Dushti, that is common in all blood-related diseases. Recta Dushti. So, how the impurity happening to recta? It could happen by the dosha vitiations, kapha, pitta, and vata. A recta depletion is there in Panduroga. That's why you call it Pandu. And a depletion of recta could happen even without a dropping of hemoglobin level. So that should not be taken into consideration of diagnosing a disease as Pandu. So that there is a condition called Vidaha. What is Vidaha? If you do not understand what is Vidaha, there is no point in learning Shodha. Vidaha is a condition, and that is the disturbance, or that is the kind of impurity happening to the Rakta Dhatu in Shodha. There are 2 types of Rakta Dushti. One is Kleda and other is Vidaha. We should clearly understand distinctively of these Vidaha and Kleda. Then it is much easier for us to understand and diagnose most of the diseases.
बाई इथं होतं ना पांढरं पांढरं
Please unmute. There's a lot of disturbance. Hello. Yes. So let us differentiate and understand the Kleda and Vidaha conditions. Vidaha is a state of inflammation, and Kleda is a state of working, or what you call turbidity. Vidaha is happening in a Pitta dominant condition. Kleda is happening in a Kapha dominant condition. Both are causing problems to the rectum. What is Vidaha? So, normally we learn Vidaha as an inflammation, that is all, finished. But a student is not getting an idea of what is happening there. What is inflammation? The word is not sufficient to explain what is Vidaha. You need to explain it. So what is Vidaha? Let us see. Vidaha is Amla Vidahatam. Amla Vidahatam, that is the opposite forces coming together, is making a condition of inflammation. If a red hot iron is dipped into water, there are fumes coming. That is Amla Bashpa. Similarly, during the summer, when the first rain comes, in the first downpour on earth, there will be Bhubashpa from earth, and fumes come up. That's a kind of Vidaha. Another example is the transformation of milk into curd. There is really the Amla Vidaha. The milk is sweet. It has Mathura Rasa. The milk, when you pour some curd in it and keep it overnight, and next day when you take it, it is no more milk. It has totally changed to something different, that is curd or dathi. Dathi is Amla, not Mathura. It is sour taste. And from the milk you can take butter, you can remove the cream from it, then it becomes buttermilk. So the changes should happen to it. So it is in that way that the milk is changing into curd, the sweetness is gone to sour, the Vidahitam is happening in the blood due to the increased Pitta. So in Vidaha is a condition of Pitta Rakta Samorchana that impures the blood. That is what we call Vidaha, that we call inflammation. So when you call inflammation, you should understand the state of inflammation. This has been happening in various diseases like Shota, in Visarga. And the same thing that when you go to that Kleda, for example, from the word itself, it is clear what is Kleda. Klidide ide Kleda. That creates an atmosphere in the substance that causing some turbidity or fortness. Like the rice which of today, you keep some water in it and keep overnight. The next morning, the rice would have changed to something like it becomes more turbid. Like water in a pond which is not flowing. If it is kept for a long time, it becomes turbid and lot of even insects or worms entering into it. And this is a condition happening due to kapha. So, Rakta kapha samurchana is kleda, Rakta pitta samurchana is vidaha. These are the two possibilities of Rakta dushti. And if you got a vivid picture of kleda and vidaha, you may be able to identify or diagnose most of the diseases and bring to a common understanding and a treatment also either to the kleda or to the vidaha. It doesn't matter what's the name of the disease. And that part is very clearly in this chapter that you need not bother or getting ashamed if you don't know the name of the disease. Yogastu aparisankheyaha. Yoga has no sankhya, aparisankheyaha. It's infinite. But doshas are parisankheyaha. They are limited. So limited doshas, through limited doshas, understanding infinite diseases and infinite possibilities and infinite derivations, which you could do, then you don't need to be ashamed of because you are able to treat based on the doshas and the samprapta. There is no point in just knowing the name and not having a treatment for that. What is better? You have a treatment, you have an approach. A new disease is not a threat or a challenge to Ayurveda because Ayurveda has treatment for the head to the toe, each and every part of your body, from head to the toe. No question of whether you know it or whether the question of you know how to approach it. That's indifferent. That is totally different. But there is a method, there is a way. So Ayurveda is categorization actually. You cannot understand and give the treatment of infinite diseases, knowing the name of each and every one. It is told today that there are 3,000 different kinds of diseases found out and yet to find out many. But how do you able to approach the single diseases? No, you cannot. You have to group them together, and that is the method. And that is what we have done in the ancient time, even by Charaka Acharya and Sutraasthana. You see, Shodha, how many different kinds of possibilities are there. Just with a single theory that you will be able to treat all these different manifestations and possibilities. Visarpa, Pandu, Arbuda, Apachi, Priha, Gulma, Ruthi, all kinds of diseases. That's what it's about. Because nothing is left out. It is comprehensive and complete. So, we have the two conditions now. One is vidaha and other is kleda. So, we should have a distinctive understanding of these two. One is vidaha and other is kleda. So, kleda is happening in prameha. Kleda is happening in kushta. In that way, they are similar. So, when we come to the skin diseases, we have two types of skin disease mainly. One is kushta and other is visarpa. In visarpa, there is a condition of vidaha. In kushta, there is a condition of kleda. That makes a difference. So, when you choose the medicines, you will really understand the kaphahara and pittahara medicine. So, both are happening basically into the blood, but the kleda avastha is further that deeply get involved in the other dhadus like medas and mamsa because having samana of dosha. Because kapha is the dosha mainly in a condition of kleda, so vriddhi samani sarvesham. The samana dhadus will be affected and they are mamsa and medas. In the case of Vidaha, it is mainly on Rakta Dhatu than Mamsa and meats. That makes a difference. But in Pidaga, that is especially in Prameha Pidaga is in Prameha, Kapha is dominant. In Pidaga, Pitta is dominant. Prameha is a condition of Kleda and Pidaga is a condition of Vida. And that is a real problem in the treatment of Prameha Pidaga. And most people die with that because there is no possibility of giving treatment. One is contradicting to the other. That is the reason. So after this Pidaga that this Shotha is explained, it is very clearly stated, Trayashotha bhavanti, Vatapitta Shleshma nimittaha, te punardivitaha, vijagantu petena. There are three types of Shotha, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, based on dosha vitiations. Again, in terms of causes, you have two, that is Nija and Agantu. Nija and Agantu, that I think everybody knows the conditions of Nija and Agantu. Nija, by wrong living conditions, that your doshas are vitiated by food, your lifestyle, your charya, and many other reasons that the doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, are getting vitiated. Dosha Prakopa will be there, and by that there is a condition of Vidaha, and that Vidaha would manifest in any part of the body and exhibiting in the form of Shotha. And depending on the location and also the functions, the names may vary, like Gulma or Priha or Arbuda or whatever. So, Nija and Agantu reasons. Agantu, external causes, by a fall, by a fracture, by a poisonous insect, or an ocean breeze, or something like that, the external causes. Aganturanyedi nijam vikaram, it is said like that. Aganturanyedi nijam vikaram nijastum agandum avipravruddha. Charaka says in the next chapter. That is Ashtodaya. Agantu, though the cause is in the beginning, is Agantu, external, it is Vyathapurva. You get only the Vyatha there. You get a pain. Suppose a fracture is there. No dosha gava in the beginning. You get a pain over there. And first you start with a pain. If there is an insect bite, you get a pain. So there is an external cause, which is called Agantu Nijam Vikaram. Then later it becomes a dosha gava. Either Vata, Pitta or Kapha. In most fracture conditions, the Vata is prominent. In bite and insects, Pitta, probably, it could be anything but Pitta. But accordingly, the type of Agantu, the dosha gurpa would vary. So it becomes Nija later on. But if the cause is Nija, in the beginning, the Vetha is there in the beginning itself. The dosha gopa, according to that dosha gopa, you will have the symptoms, you will have the rupa, and you will have the lakshanas and everything. So there is a classification now as 3 as well as 2. The 3 is in terms of doshas and 2 in terms of causes. Now let us go deep into that as per the text. Because anyway, we cannot give up the explanations of our Acharya in it. So it has multiple links, multiple complexities. In our Shastra, about 50 diseases are mentioned or more, not thousands of diseases. But you see, if you go to this chapter, that how many diseases are mentioned. So the Shobha is also there in the Chikitsasthana, but not in the Nidanasthana. In Charaka Nidana, only 8 diseases are mentioned. When you go into that in deep understanding, you would realize that these 8 diseases you would be able to diagnose. You will be able to diagnose all different kinds of diseases. Because the chances or possibilities of Doshakopa is clearly explained in 8 different types of disease. That is the thing. So there is no separate Nidana for it. And Charaka has a method of explaining the Nidana and Chikitsa together, combining together. That is from the beginning. From the Jara chapter, you can find in all the 30 chapters. Even after the Nidana Sthana that he explains. The Nidana again in the Chikitsa Sthana, because we cannot separate certain things to be a great Vaidya in the understanding and learning. One is the Dravya. The other is Nidana. And the third is Chikitsa. Now in the universities, we are learning each one separately, but you need a combined and a confined study of all these three. So you cannot separate Nidana from the Chikitsa. You cannot separate Dravya from the Chikitsa. So all these are together, and that is the method Charaka followed. And here that we have first the Nija and Agantu. First Charaka explains about the Agantu, the Samanya Hetu of Agantu Shotha. First he says it could be because of a physical injury, a fracture, a fall, a cut or wounds, or beaten by somebody, and other sources. So injury is one, an external injury. That could be a reason for getting Shotha. And second is allergic or some external causes, like infections of various types. It could be from flowers, or like bhallataka. You know what is bhallataka? It's a tree which is very allergic if you touch it, and its anti-allergic is that vipitaka, which I have treated for many people, those who get allergic to bhallataka. Vipitaka Kashayam is the worst in that. Similarly, Atmagupta, which produces kandu, the itching, and Yavashaka, that's also producing itching, and the dust of grains like paddy. So these are the infections of various types of allergic conditions which might cause a Shotha. Then there is another thing by insects or poisonous worms or other creatures. Their sweat like spider, its feces, urine, or crawling of certain insects like spider or scorpion. Then their bite, nail, or by teeth or stings of such insects. All these might cause some kind of poison in the system, and that come into the bloodstream and produce a kind of vidaha. And that could be the reason for a kind of Shotha. Then Charaka says about the external causes like air, cold, and hot. And air from that is a sea breeze, air from the ocean, or polluter or poisonous, wind, touching cold or hot substances. So these are the general conditions or the general causes for an Agandu type of Shona. So it is said Agandu Yatha Purvam Bhavati Paschal Vadadibhi Anavakyate. First it is Vyatha, kind of pain or sort of discomforts. Then the dosha gopa happens. That is Agantu. In Nija, it is the other way. Purvam Vadadibhi Lakshanaihi Yujjade. And first it combines with the lakshanas of Vada and other doshas, Paschat Vedana Van. Then you get the pain, other kind of disturbances. So when you come to the Nija, that is Samanya Hetu, and he has also done the classifications of the Samanya Hetu or the general causes of Nija type of Shvayatu. Firstly, it is due to Panchakarma and wrong practices of Shodhana, and also the Samsarjana Kriya, the Paschat Karma. So maybe the Purva Karma, the Panchakarma, and the Paschat Karma. If the practices are wrong or goes wrong, that could even create a Panchakarma, a Virechana, a Snehapana, or a Vasti could even create a Shodha. And also it could be due to many different diseases. So it is there. Shodha is not a single disease, maybe also a condition. In many diseases, Shodha, the swelling or edema is a condition, not always as a disease. In Chardi, it comes. Chardi, kind of vomiting. And Adasaga, it's a type of ama. Vishujika is a type of ama. That is Atharottara Margabhyam Chavayandam Vishujika. There will be vomiting and also diarrhea at the same time in Vishujika. Then Shwasa, that is Tamaka Shwasa, asthma or breathing trouble. Kasa, coughing. Atisara, diarrhea, and Pandu. Then Shodha, and Udara, Jara, fever. Pradara, that is bleeding for women, and Pagandara, fistula, ulcers. Kushtha, leprosy, Kandu, itching, and Pidaga, abscess. See, he made it a big list. And all these diseases, Shodha could manifest as a condition. So the treatment varies when it is a condition and when it is a disease. It's more intense when it is a disease. In the case of condition, the disease is intense. That's why you get a Shodha. So the treatment will focus mainly on the particular disease, and sideways you can give the treatment of Shodha if needed. So why this description? Because you need to know clearly whether it is a condition or whether it is whether it is a disease. So when you consider all these diseases mentioned here, one thing is very evident that you see, that is there is an ojas depletion, a oja-chaya dhatu in all these diseases mentioned here. Even Pidaga it is there, in Prameha it is there, in Chardi it is there, Vishujika, all kinds of diseases that you have a depletion of oja-chaya. What is ojas? That we already know about the ojas. Rasadi Sukrandanam Dhatuvanam Yelchalu Saraha, that's oja. What is oja? Ojas is the dhatu sara, the very essence of dhatus. Like a mud pot that the water is slowly oozing, that you can't see that how the water is how the pot becomes wet outside. In the same way, from each dhatu, there is the manifestation or onset of ojas, and which finally appears or manifests through the Shukra dhatu. And that really is the strength and power of human life. And that is the principle of sustenance. And that is the principle that we have taken in the treatment of Rasayana. So there is a depletion of ojas in all this. And it is very clearly said in the Panduroga, which is also a subsidiary of this Sota. Yasya pitta pradhanasya, dosha pitta pradhanasya yasya kuppendi thasusu, shaithilyamtasya dhadunam gauravam chopajayate, ye varnabalasneha ye cha pinya ojaso gunaha, prajanti pshayamatyartham dosha dushya pradushanat. It's very clearly stated that Pandu is a disease of all three doshas. And Pitta Pradhanaha and Pitta dominant. And that also, the Pitta dominant Tridosha that creates and that vitiates the Rakta Dhatu and make a depletion in the quantity of the Rakta and also the quality of that. And that really affecting the ojas because 2-3 dhadus are directly connected to the ojas. And one dhatu is Rakta. If you have a depletion of Rakta, then ojas is lost. Kattade, sahade, shabdam, noche, dravadi, sulyade. In Rasa dhatu also the same thing. That you cannot hear the sound, you cannot hear big noise of any kind or anything that is disturbing and you lose your temper. Rasa dhatu, Rakta dhatu, Majja dhatu, these dhatus are directly connected to ojas than any other. So when there is a depletion of any of them, that would definitely affect. So Ojachaya is a very common factor in all this. So that is also happening here in Sota. So, and also he says about Vegatharana, Madamutra Vitharanat, right? Stopping the urges, the natural urges or the Vegas. Then comes the physical exertion or too much of walking and too much of fasting. Like that, the physical activities which we call vihara. That vihara is also cause for that. And again, the rock food pattern. The food pattern like vidahi, as I told earlier, the sprouts, the curd, and leafy vegetables. These are vidahi. So we have normally an impression that leafy vegetables are very good. And that's not true according to Ayurveda. Ayurveda does not agree with the leafy vegetables. And it has recommended certain like Jivanti, Vastu Mulyachi, Mekhanada, Punarnavaha, Panchashaka. 5 types of shakas. One is Jivanti, then Vastu Chira, what we call Kira, Mulyachi, Minangani, Mekhanada, that is Sigru, and Punarnava. So 5 types of Sarvashagam Achakshusham, that is the reason. Sarvashagam Achakshusham. All these shakas are not Chakshushya, as we already understood that these are very good for the eyes. Not so, because a lot of heat is produced by them and Chakshus Tejomayam. So even more heat is gone to the Chakshu, then it will spoil the Chakshu. So it's not good for the eyes. So there are certain things which are recommended and there are also medicine with them. For Jivanti, there is Jivanti Adhikritam also for eyes. Then the wrong pattern of food like Vidahi, Ishtampi, Amla, Lavana, Leafy, and curd, alcohol, Mandaga. Mandaga is very bad that you got in the foreign countries. It is neither curd nor milk in between, which is not fully formed as curd. Then sprouts, lot of protein, what we call so sprouts, it is Vidahi. You don't digest properly, then how could you absorb? And if digested, and that produces a lot of kapha and heat together. And that is really the vidaha. That is kapha and heat together in recta. That's happening. And meat. Then the pregnancy disorder, miscarriage, and postnatal care, if not good and proper. So these are the general things of Nija or the causes of Nija. So one thing is there that, though Prameha is a disease of Kapha origin, it has the involvement of all the three doshas. Similarly, Vidaha is a condition produced by Pitta and Rakta in Shodha, but an elevated skin condition happening due to the involvement of all three doshas. So Vada, Pitta and Kapha, all three doshas have a prominent role in the onset of this disease. Then in the text that the lakshanas of each one are separately given, like Vata, Pitta and Kapha. That in all diseases you can find the same kind of symptoms or lakshanas, because the lakshanas are related to doshas. And dosha involvement is there in all diseases. Yatha Pachi Paripadan. We know already that without doshas, there is no disease. When the doshas are vitiating and these doshas making a dushti in the dhatu, you call it a disease, but the disease, like when a bird is flying, its shadow never leaves it. It always follows. Similarly, the doshas always follow the disease. Disease is not separate from the doshas. So that's a very important point here. So there is a similarity in every disease when you consider the dosha involvement, and that is the efficacy and the method of giving treatment. So the treatment is based on the doshas only. So here we have the three doshas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha, the involvement of each and the different lakshanas, which I don't know whether I have to go to the details of that, because it is common in almost all diseases, and also by reading that one can easily understand that. One thing is that when a shodha is formed, it's a harder surface, mostly. And that hardness is made by kapha. And if you have a burning sensation over here, there, and pain of any sort, or any kind of disturbance, then it is a clear indication of pitta. In a vada condition, it comes and goes quickly. That the shodha, the swelling will be there at one time and it disappears. In a vada condition, normally the swelling disappears night. In the daytime, it will be there. And also the color, that is Aruna Varna in vata, which is Rakta Varna in pitta, and which is Pandu Varna in kapha. In a kapha type, if you press it, it won't come back to the previous position. But in vada condition, when you press it, it comes back to the previous condition, like a balloon you press. And pitta condition, like vada rakta, there will be a swelling. And cross to shirsha. Cross to shirsha is a kind of vada rakta that is mostly in the joint, that is in the knee joint, which appears like the shirsha, the head of a fox, which is paining. Paining in the sense, sparsha asahishnutvam, that even you cannot even touch it. Such a pain. And it always happens when the vata and pitta together vitiate. So with that, you should be able to assume that there is a vata pitta condition in it. So in mostly in rakta condition, it's more paining. Sparsha asatatvam will be there. So shodha is first identified, then goes to further details of lakshana and upadeva. So you have this that ojas depletion, as I explained already. So that also should be taken into consideration while giving treatment. And Ashtanga Hridaya, when you go back to Ashtanga Hridaya, the chapter of Shobha, in the Nidanasthana, Pandu, Shobha, and Visarpa, these three diseases are mentioned and explained together. And they are having some kind of similarity. And in Pandu, it is said that Tungmamsandaramashrita. Tungmamsandaramashrita. The Ashraya, the location or the manifestation would take place in between Mamsa Dhatu and Tok, the skin. That is a location of Pandu. And also the involvement of Rakta Dhatu there. So three things are there in Vidaha condition. One is Pitta, dominance. Second is Rakta Dhatu. And the third is Vidaha. So this is happening in the skin. That is why the elevated condition of skin is called, or a swelling is happening and you feel it externally. So Pandu, Shobha, and Visarpa, they are always together. And also there is one more, that is Udara, the acidic condition, the distension of stomach. So all of them are in the same category. In Charaka also you see the next chapter, that is the 19th chapter, is three Ashtodariya. Again the continuation. From Pidaga it started, next is Shobha, and next is Udara. And that is the connection. A Shobha turns to Visarpa, and Visarpa you don't have. In some Visarpa you will have some kind of swelling, but not in every Visarpa. And most Visarpa you don't find that. But here what happens is, Visarpa is a condition where the Pitta Prakopa is there in the Rakta Dhatu, and that Pitta is moving into the Rakta Dhatu. Visarpana Subhava. Visarpana is spreading into the Rakta. There is no accumulation of the doshas in one place, so it is spreading. But it is also coming into the category of Shodha. So a Shobha turns to Visarpa with Kandu. So most of the flowers and trees and Pallataka and Yavashaka, many things I told, all of them having some kind of allergic feeling on the skin, which would turn to Visarpa. So when it is Visarpa, the treatment slightly varies. It depends. So even in Pidaga, the Tungmam Sandaramashrida, then even the Vidrathi is also Tungmam Sandaramashrida, and Doshakopa is getting accumulated in between the skin and Mamsa. And it is brought there in through the Siras. The Sira means the different passages of blood flow, and that is brought into the system and producing a kind of dosha accumulation. So it is said, but Charaka did not say that, because it's not always externally. Behisiram nitva is a samprapta. Behisiram nitva. Those doshas are brought to the Behisira, the siras that are external, not internal. But in the case of Vidrathi, there are internal siras also. That is under Vidrathi. And in under Vidrathi, it comes to a Pakwavasa, a fully formed state of pus and the blood, and it is open inside. That might cause death. But if it is external, it won't cause death in many cases because it is opening outside. So, Swayathuval doshaihi dushaischa yato visarpo bhavati. So Ashtanga Hridaya, it is made very clear that the dosha dusha samurchana, or the action of doshas into the dusha or the dhatus, is very similar to visarga, very similar to swayathu in visarga. Piktarekta kaphan vayu dushto dushtan bahissira nitva ruddhagadirsteihi kuryal tongmamsa samsrayam. Vagbhara says it very clearly. Pittarakta kaphan vayu, the air, the vayu or vata. Pitta Rakta Kaphan, Pitta, Rakta, and Kapha, all the three are brought by Vayu, Dushta. Dushtan Behissira Nitva, and brought into, through the Behisiras and into the skin and through Dhagati, blocked by the doshas. Kuryal Tongmamsa Sansrayam. In that way, it is coming in between and light in between Tok and Mamsa dhatus. Ulsayatham samhatam sopam tamahu nijayan sarve. Pitta, Rakta, Vata and Kapha, located in between skin and Mamsa, forms Shota, which is brought through Siras. And it is also like Eganga and Sarvanga, that is localized, and the whole body is again divided into three according to the shape. One is Vistirna, that is broad. The other is Unnata, elevated. The third is Grachita, hard. And according to the doshas, there are again three types, the shapes. By seeing the shape that you will be able to identify. Like in a snake bite, you don't need to see the snake bite. The Vaidya will be able to find out which type of snake or which varga is bitten, whether Vata or Kapha or Pitta, viper or cobra or Rajina. By seeing that wound, one would be able to identify which type of snake is bitten. Similarly, by seeing the shape, that you would be able to understand it. By the color, you can, and also the sthana, the location, you will be able to identify. So, that the lakshanas and the manifestation of Shota in terms of doshas are detailed, and after that, the same thing is again repeated in a sloka form. And that is the style of Charaka. Charaka always explain it like that. Bhavanti Chatra. So after a prose, he repeats the same thing in a sloka form for an easy apprehension. That's the purpose of it. Something complicated and difficult to explain, he bring it again back to the sloka form and explain it lucidly in a style that easily apprehensive, and that is Bhavanti Chatra. The same dosha kapha, vata, pitta, kapha, its lakshanas and everything is again detailed. And after that, he goes back to a particular type of sloka. He says there are three types of sloka, but there are different classifications like vata, pitta, kapha. Then you can have the combination of two doshas, vata, pitta, pitta, kapha, kapha, vata, like that three types of samsargaja and sanyapadika. So totally there are 7, and also two types of agantu prominently. One is by poison of snakes or any kind of reptiles or insects, or poisonous air, or whatever. The other is abhighata, by fall, by fracture. So 2 types of Agandus are mentioned. So in Ashtanga there are 9 types of Shodha. But here he explains it as 7 or 8 because he has already explained the Nija and Agandu separately. One Lakshana is Shodha is, though it is 7 or 9 or whatever, it's just one. That is Ulsetha. That is Vidaha. Then he explains about the 7 types of Ubadravas. Chardi, Shwasa, Ariji, Trishna, Jara, Atisara, and Daupalya. These are the 7 Ubadravas, or kind of disturbance that happening. Chardi, vomiting. Shwasa, breathlessness. Ariji, no appetite. Trishna, thirst. Jara, fever. Atisara, diarrhea. Daupalya, weakness. And these lakshanas or these Ubadravas are not found in all types of Shodha. When there is an intense or very severe Shodha as a single disease, that you will be able to see these types of Ubadravas. So, there is a particular Shodha which can't be treated. That is, yastu pada abhinirvrutta Shodha sarvanga go bhavet. This I had seen in many people. I got a lot of experience in it. A swelling that initially appear on the foot. Then the foot it is spreading. Then further goes to the abdomen. From there to the face. In some people it is the other way. That is first appear on the face, then on the abdomen, then on the feet. There is a third way of manifestation which is first in the stomach, then spreading up and down. In any case, all the 3 are Marana Lakshana, fatal conditions. There is a clear explanation of these 3 in our Sutraasthana of Charaka Samhita, that is in the Vikriti Vijnaniya. In Vikriti Vijnaniya, it is very clearly mentioned that for men, the Shobha that is happening first on the feet, further to the abdomen, then goes on the face. That is fatal. And that shows the Vikriti. The same thing first on the face, then on the chest, then on the feet. For women, that also fatal. The reason is Athophagu Guru Strinam Urdham Pumsam Gurus Tatha. In general, the body is different according to Gurutva and Laghutva for male and female. In female, that Gurutva, the heaviness of the body is more downward. For men, it is upward. So, the Shotha begins from the light part, that is from the foot, from a man, and spreading to the stomach, then to the face. Because the Lakhu or lighter limbs are the downward for men. And for female, it is from the face, which is lighter, then come to the abdomen, then to the feet. So if such a thing happening, that for men and women, then definitely it's a sign, because without lakshana, without the sign of death, one would not die. That is our belief. And that is true also. And in the same way, for men and women both, if first the swelling appear on the stomach or abdomen, then spreading either up or down or simultaneously, that would also cause death. So such things are also explained, and this has no treatment because these manifestations are the lakshana or the signs of death. So I think that we can have a small break now for 10 minutes and return at 12:10. I give you a gap of 10 minutes. And we will have a break right now. Sorry, 11:10, not 12:10, 10 minutes, okay? Yeah.
Yes,
Have
sir.
a break.
Yes.
சரி அதான் நான் கேட்டது நேற்று கேஸ் பேசுறதா கேட்டேன். போய் யாருக்கிட்ட பேசிட்டு வந்தீங்க? இப்போ போயிட்டு வந்தீங்களா? அங்க இந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது இருந்தா அவங்க போன் இல்லைன்னா இங்க வந்து சொல்லிட்டு போங்க. நான் கதவுக்காக வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்க முடியாதுல்ல.
Welcome back to Samhita Tattva Vichara, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready? Hello.
Sir, yes, sir.
Can we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Namaskaram. We'll come back to the session, the second part. Hope all of you are ready. Okay. There is a question normally that why this Shota as a disease is mentioned in the Sutraasthana. You know this Shastra, that Ayurveda has Shastra and Tantra. Shastra is the theoretical aspect, the theology, and the Tantra is the technical aspect, its practical use, which we call treatment. So the idea of the Shastra is Tantra. All these things are explained. The Sutraasthana, Nidana, Sharira, everything has a focus. And that focus is mainly Chikitsa Shastra or Chikitsa, the treatment. So Ayurveda is a Chikitsa Tantra. My Guruji used to say that Ayurveda is a Tantra. So there is a saying that Prayogika Shastra. Prayogika Shastra means a Shastra which has got a technical or practical purpose. So this Shastra has got a practical purpose. It is not just a philosophy. So the philosophy or the theory part, it has got an aim and a focus. That is again the practice. So for the practice, you need two things. One is the Nidana and other is the Chikitsa. Nidana is the process of diagnosing the disease, the examination, and understanding and identifying the disease. Chikitsa is the practice or an approach to that bodily derangement by proper application of medicine as well as the karmas. So the art of Ayurveda is Nidana. The examination, the diagnosis is an art. And the technical aspect, the treatment is the craft. So this is like a Chitrakara, a painter or a sculptor, making a beautiful icon or a picture. His art that is inherent in him, and that manifests or exhibited in his linings or the diagrams, which is a craft. So every art is like a combination of art and craft. Similarly, this Shastra is a combination of art and craft. The art is Nidana, the craft is Chikitsa. And these two are based on Sharira. And we have a Sharira very deep, which even cover the subtle aspect of the physical body. Not only the Panjabhutas, even the subtlest Paramanus. And we have a functional Sharira, a body that has functional existence. Today's body is not tomorrow, though it appears the same. Because changes would always happen every moment in the physical nature. Many cells are produced, many are destroyed, and new cells are produced. Similarly, the Dhatu Parinama, the transformation of Dhatus from Rasa to Rakta, Rakta to Mamsa, it's an ongoing process in the static state of your physical body. So in that, it is like a flow of water in a river. When you look into the river, you see the water there always, but it's a flowing water that is appearing and disappearing. So that fundamental Sharira has got a base, and that base is Sutraasthana. So Sutraasthana is the foundation of Nidana and Chikitsa. Even the knowledge of the body is based on the Sutraasthana. The Sharira of Ayurveda is taken from Shukla Yajurveda. It's a part of Yajurveda. So as I told earlier, this Shastra is not from a single Veda. It is from all the Vedas. So that foundation or Sutrasthana, though it is a foundation, it always focuses on Chikitsa. Therefore, certain diseases are mentioned in the Sutrasthana itself. Because by learning Sutrasthana, one should be able to get an idea of the disease so that further when he goes to Nidana, he would be able to diagnose and give proper treatment by learning Sutrasthana. So it's a continued process. So in that way, being a foundation that focuses on Chikitsa, that a Shotha, a disease is detailed in the Sutrasthana. These are the common questions being asked, like why this is in Sutrasthana, where there is an order of Charaka Samhita. So instead of looking into the order of Charaka Samhita, it is better to make an order ourselves for understanding the order of Charaka. So in that way, as I told earlier, Trishodhiya, based on Vada Pitta Kapha Tritoshas, Trishodhiya is also termed Trishodhiya because of the location of Shotha in different areas or different regions of the body. There is a common classification or division of the body that is into two, from head to the navel and from navel to the feet. You call it Urdhakaya and Adhokaya. Urdhakaya is the upper part from head to the navel, and Adhokaya is the lower part from navel to the feet. Like that, there is a common division to the human body based on the power of your Vayu, your prana and apana. The sthana of apana below navel and prana above navel. Like this is mostly used in Yoga Tantra in pranayama. Next division is based on the doshas. From your head to the chest to the navel, from navel to the foot. That is another classification, and that is from head to the chest is Kapasthana. From Kapa down to the navel is Pitta. From navel down to the feet is Vata. Such a classification is there, and that also forms part of Trishodhiya. And that way, the different diseases or the different names of Shodha are given. So it is said that there are four types of Kaphajanya Shodha, 5 types of Pittajanya Shodha, and 5 types of Vatajanya Shodha. The combinations are not mentioned, but the Samsargaja and Sannivada are also included in these divisions. There are certain things in which the 2 doshas are involved. In certain things, there are 3 doshas are involved. But here, the indication is only a single dosha which is dominant, depending on the dosha as well as the sthana, the location. The first one is kapha. So, yasya shleshma pragupita jihva mule avatishtade. A kapha kopa, a kapha vitiation, and as per the samprapti, the dosha is getting focused or localized at the jihva mula, and the kapha is the dominant dosha, and name of that is upajihva. And most of these things that you cannot correlate with the modern, because even if you correlate, you have to check whether the symptoms of each one is really mentioned in that. Because these conditions are, it's very clear, especially in Charaka, the Shudra Roga, he explains the various types of Shodha mentioned here and detailed it. So when it is in Jihva Mula, it is called Upajihvika. So in Upajihvika, there is Rakta Mishra. That is, Rakta is also involved and says Sushruta. Sushruta says Tejet, and that is difficult to treat. So mostly it comes under the category of some kind of cancer. It could be, not in all cases. Then Kakale Galashudika, Kakala, when it is Talu, the palate, upper palate, the same kind of dosha happens. Then it is called Galashudika and the Krishna Shwasakasakrit. These are the symptoms. You will have Trishna, thirst, Shwasa, breathlessness, and Kasa, cough. So combined with all the symptoms, it is called Galashuntika. Galabahye Galaganda. When it is outside the Gala, that is the throat, it is called Galaganda, where Vata Kapha are also involved. Antargale Galagraha, inside the throat, it is called Galagraha. So see, mostly these are in the areas of your head, or it comes the Urdha Jatrugada Roga, the diseases that are found above the Jatru. Jatru is back of neck, that is in the head region. So you must be very careful about the diseases that are mostly in the head. That is really the pranasthana. And the four diseases mentioned here, and two of them, the first two are very difficult because they are artiga, mostly causing death. So instead that the modern way of understanding, you have the goiter and you have the thyroid and parathyroid conditions. These conditions are also brought under this category of Sotha, and accordingly the treatment can be given. But in most of these cases of thyroid, that I understand thyroid as Pandu, because Panduta is common in all this. And accordingly, we treat that the TSH and those things can be brought down. And according to modern medicine, there is no treatment for, and even if you take a medication for that, like altroxin and thyroxine, that lifelong, you have to continue it. Such a condition would never occur. In Ayurveda, you don't need a lifelong medication for that. You can bring it. The thing is that even if there is a name for that in modern terms, that you have to also check whether it has some of the symptoms, and those symptoms, whether it is matching to some of the diseases mentioned in Ayurveda, and which group or which category that we can draw it or brought in. Accordingly, the treatment should be given. So in that case, I feel like that should be brought into the case of Pandu or Shotha, which are having a common method of treatment. Then, so these are the four types mentioned, but that's not enough because only a few of them are mentioned. Always when you come to the Sutraasthana, that all the different types of treatments for all different types of diseases are not mentioned. It is impossible. How it is possible? Because rogastu anantaha, ananta roga, infinite number of diseases. Infinite diseases cannot be explained. That is why we have, in Ayurveda, we have this categorization. The categorization is the only way to approach the complexity of the body conditions. If you don't have that, you cannot get accuracy of that, even in diagnosis and using of the medicines. So it is more accurate sometimes that if you are really confined to the dosha vitiations and try to understand disease based on what Ayurvedic principles. In the case of Visarpa, anyhow, Visarpa is coming here. That before that, I am going to explain the condition of Visarpa, how Ayurveda should approach, and how Ayurveda use the principle. This is for just to make an understanding of our approach. Instead of going through the medical reports and those names, we give a medicine and we have no role in the diagnosis. That is not the way. So I'll tell you that one patient had a skin disease. So normally the skin disease, we have that two different types or two different classification. One is the Visarpa and other is Kushta. Mostly. And see, and the third one, if you want, you can say that Vrana is also a skin condition, wounds or any other. See, so mainly two. One is Visarpa and other Kushta. The involvement of recta is very much there in every kind of skin disease. So the primary dhatu is no doubt recta, the blood. Blood impurity. So blood purification should be the treatment procedure. So in a case, there had a kind of itching on the skin, and that severe itching, and there had some white flakes peeling off from the skin, and there had a lot of dryness on the system. Then this was normally, anyone can identify it as either Kushta or Visarpa. So many people tried it, and mostly the treatment was given for Visarpa because Sarpana Sabhava is there. Sarpanam is spreading and easily spreading. Visheshena Sarpada, that is Visarpa. So a quick flare up was there. The whole body was affected, even the head and the eyes and everywhere on the face. This person was age old and he was about 80 years old. We tried in many ways with many different Kashaya yogas and other combinations. Could not get a success. Finally came to a conclusion that it should be treated in a different way. Then found out that it is not Visarpa. We should change our attitude and we should think in a different way. Then I realized that this could not be a fever because this person in his whole life, I don't think that he had a fever or any kind of kapha diseases. Then this was treated in a different line. It was treated as fever, as jwara. The diagnosis was that he had the white flakes and skin peeling, which is white. That's a clear indication of kapha. But so far we had seen that Visarpa is Tvachi Sarpati. Yasya Pittam Pragapitam Tvachi Rakte Avatishtare. Yasya Pittam Pragapitam Saraktam Tvachi Sarpati. And that is a clear indication given here as the Samprapti of Visarpa. Pitta Pragupita. Pitta Kopa is there, and that Pitta in the bloodstream flowing and finally through the siddhas coming to the skin. Here, by seeing that white flakes, we should come to a different diagnosis because it indicates kapha. So the understanding was different that the dosha kopa is not in recta. So it could not be a Visarpa. That thought it must be, or it is having the same samprapti of jwara. In jwara, as I told you earlier, the samprapti is tatra prakupita vayu amashyamanu pravichya. The vata or the similar doshas first enter into stomach and disturbing the Agni there and eliminated from there, from the position and displaced to the skin. And the skin, it produces the temperature and there is no Agni in the Amasya. So Ama is really formed in the stomach. The same condition he had, that he was not having any appetite, never hungry, and he had no excretory functions properly, the feces, urine, or anything. That was a clear indication of Ama. And Agnisada was there. And it's a clear samprapti of jwara. But at the final stage of it, there had a twist. That instead of that going into the recta, it manifested in the tvak as in the rasa dhatu. So when you consider the rasa dhatu, the dosha in the rasa dhatu is kapha. and its mala is also kapha. So in that way, there is a kapha kopa in the rasa dhatu, and this was not affected the rakta dhatu, and that was the final conclusion. The same kind of samprapti happening in jara, but in jara there is no itching of any kind, but there is a small twist in that. So according to this understanding that it is in the rasa dhatu, when it is rasa dhatu, the visarpa medicines that are having cold potency or virya cannot be used. Because rasa dhatu is cold, it is kapha. Again, a shita kashaya cannot be used there, so you need the ushna kashaya. So that a particular kashaya was chosen and selected. That was Pathya Katphalati Kashayam for Sahasra Yoga. And the same Kashaya is there, Pathya Kustumbru, in Ashtanga Hridaya Jara Chikitsa, with a change of one ingredient in it. And this was given in that condition. Pathya Katphala Nagaram Budavaja Puni Maihi, Bhangi Patpada Nirehi, Srigamidam Toyam Suchidam Puna, Madhvajam Paramanu Ramatayutam, Slashma Juram Nachayit. It is given in a kapha jara condition. Kosthati Sosana, Agnisada, Kasana, Arihi, Asisosha. All these indications are there to this patient. So this medicine was given and added one more, that is Karkadakshink along with that for the skin. In 21 days of Kashaya, all the lesions disappeared. So if we could find out and diagnosis and our yukti in treatment, that works. Definitely you could get wonderful results, which you cannot imagine. Because mostly today our practice is based on the pharmacy medicines. And if you go into the textual references and do treatment accordingly, then you can make wonderful results. You can expect. The thing is that Ayurveda is not a study of any other medicine or a study of its correlation with the modern medicine of homeopathy. Ayurveda is a study of Charaka Samhita, Sutraasthana, Ashtanga Hridayam, Ashtanga Sangraham, and similar kind of scriptures. And using the techniques and also the medicines, the yogas that are explained. Once the principles of Ayurveda is understood, you can also use the yoga granthas like Sahasra Yoga, Sargadha, or Chikitsa Manchari, or whatever in any language. Otherwise, there is no point in using the yoga grantha unless you know the principle of Ayurveda. So in that way, if you apply, then you can get the result. So the thing is that in appearance, those skin lesions very clearly indicates that it is a visarpa. When you closely examine it and go to the depth of it, then you will realize that it's not visarpa. It's a jara, and a kind of or a variety of jara appears as skin lesion. And such kind of applications would make wonders. So in that way, we become competent in the field of medicine. Not by giving some of the medicines as we follow that traditionally from the pharmacy. And we should be able to find out and trace out the effective yogas from the text and accordingly use it. But the thing is presently that Ayurveda is limited to the focus on certain areas. The main areas of focus today is the research. One is the research, and other is kind of surgery. That is, we try to develop the branch which we have almost lost. That is surgery. And the third one is wellness treatment. That most centers with Panchakarma, they do the wellness treatment. So then Chalakya Tantra, not very much, but of course. So Shalya Tantra is the main focus. So these are the areas that we are focusing today, which is insufficient. Kaya Chikitsa. Our focus is not mainly on Kaya Chikitsa. Bala Chikitsa, those texts, each branch has got many scriptures or textual reference or yoga granthas. In Bala Chikitsa, there is Arogya Kalpadruma, Abada Vrutsa, Chikitsa. Like that, those texts nobody knows today. Graha Chikitsa, there is no focus on that. Udvanga Chikitsa, there is no focus on that. Damstra Chikitsa, that is poison, that Udvanga Chikitsa, the eye treatment, the Nimitantra, there are texts like that. It's nobody follows. In the Damstra Chikitsa, that is Visha Chikitsa, there are a lot of books on that. Exclusively for that, not besides this Ashtanga and the Samhitas. Vishanarayani, Josnika. Then Vishavidyas are now comparatively less, that there are not many people going for Vishachikitsa and Rasayana Chikitsa and Vajikarana. When we look at each branch of that, there is a kind of decline in the practice. But what I'm telling is that through the Gurukula, as we were discussing before, that we would be able to develop all the areas and various texts which we had never seen even. There are plenty of books, not only the yoga granthas, even the Shastra granthas, we should be familiar with. In that way, it should develop. So there is a state of that is stagnancy that is happening in the field. So either we should develop according to the time to the global level, and simultaneously we should have the development in the Gurukula system. We all want the pure Ayurveda, but we are not ready to adopt the pure method of learning, that is Gurukula. So like that, when we come to the Pittas type of Sayati, Saraktam Tuji Sarpadi, that is Visarpa, there is a separate chapter for that, for Visarpa Chikitsa, and it's a very prominent one. Raktam Tuji Sarpadi, Saraktam Tuji Sarpadi, that is Pitta is dominant because it is a condition of Vidaha, and that happening in the Rakta Dhatu. And with the Vidaha, it moves into the Dhatus, and the skin produces the lesions. And that is called Visarpa. There are different types of Visarpa. And especially the most difficult is Agni Visarpa. Agni Visarpa. It is like, that burns the whole body with the burns and like Pidaga, certain lesions will be there. And that can also be treated in Ayurveda because it is said that it is a fatal condition if left untreated for quite some time. But it can be treated. There are efficient medicines for that. Then there is a condition, Shonidam Prapisidati, the Pitta, again, that goes to the recta, and Shonidam Prapya, that is going to the Shonida, that is recta, and Shushiti, and becomes small and like bubble-like. So where it is called the Chudra Roga, Tilaga Piplavo Gengo Nidimata Sejayate. Then there is Shankaga again, which is very Daruna, very fatal. And Karnamule, Jurandaya, Durjio, Antayacha. So many things are explained. So we need not go to all the details of it, but at least the main diseases like Pitaga. Yasya vittam pragvedam tujirekte avadishtade shodham saragam janiyal Pitagata sijayate. And this was the subject discussed in the last chapter, Pitaga. So we have some impressions like that. A direct translation we always try to, that becomes a misinterpretation, as I told earlier. So I have seen that Vidrithi, especially, Shikra Vidahita Vidrithi, there is a quick manifestation of the disease spreading throughout in Vidrithi, where the Pitta and Vata together vitiate. Vidrithi is kind of abscess, where in most cases you can find it as cancer. But many people misunderstand the Gulma and Vidrithi. Gulma, some people say Gulma is a cancer, but not. Because Gulma is due to Vata and Vata dominance and Vata vitiated in the Koshta. Like in Vidrithi, it doesn't have a very solid Dhatu vitiation. It's mostly in the Koshta. Without Dhatu, there is no vitiation. That is a different thing. But it is more spreading into the Koshta than the Dhatus. So in that case, and that is the difficulty in the treatment of Gulma. So the only difference between Gulma and Vidrithi, they are looking similar. In Gulma, you have the Vata Kopa that is dominant. In Vidrithi, you have the Pitta Kopa. In Vidrithi, you have the foundation or the substratum of dhatus like Rekta and Mansa. And the Gulma, the same as in the Koshta. And that makes a difference. So this slight difference makes a big difference in the treatment procedure and also the usage of medicine. So we have again the Vata types like Priha, Gulma, Vriddhi, the hydrocele, and Udara. As like this, similarly many diseases are there. And even Shankaka is there. And Athimamsa Arbudadaya, Athimamsa, Arbuda, which normally we call cancer, but I told you that Arbuda cannot be taken just with the translation of it, interpreted it as cancer, because we have to see the lakshanas and also the swabhava, natural, by which we should bring it into the category of disease. So that is the thing. So the Acharya goes back to a different, that Sandhi Hevamita Rogaha Sathya Daruna Sammataha. Sandhi Evamita Rogaha Sathya Daruna Sammata Ye Hanyu Anupakranta Mithyacharena Vapuna Sathyaschcha Pyapare Sandhi Vyathayo Mritu Sammataha Yatnaya Nagradam Teshu Karma Siddhityanam Asamshyam. It is said that we have learned in the Sutraasthana of Ashtanga Hridaya that diseases, if you ask me a question, whether this disease can be treated or there is a medicine in Ayurveda for such a disease, there is no answer. Because every disease is treatable. Every disease has got a cure. Every disease has got a stage of treatment and a stage in which it cannot be treated. So it depends upon the severity, how much it affected the dhatus, how much the doshas are intense, depending on that, and also the strength of the person, there are a lot of other factors related to a disease. Just by giving a name, that you cannot say this can be treated or not. Some people come with reports, patient will come. And most people, when they come to the Vaidya, they keep a bundle of papers and keep on the table. And what's your sickness? See, it is there on the table, on the paper. Even people do not know that what they feel and what kind of disturbance or discomforts they have physically. They believe in the reports, that once the report comes normal, they believe that they are healthy. It is not. In most cases, the reports may be good, but the patient is suffering. That also can happen. So first thing, there is no point in conversation in that, because darshana sparshana prashnaihi pariksheda. In prashna, many things would not come. And even people who are already under medication, most of the symptoms would not appear. That is unwelcome. That is actually the difficulty for us to diagnose in many cases. So we have many different obstacles on the way to find out and come to the right conclusion. Because in olden times that we had Ayurveda that is flourishing, that time there was no modern medicine. The chemical medicines were not used. That time it was much easier to find out and diagnose a disease because the symptoms would appear. Now it is not, because most symptoms are silent with the medication. And some of these symptoms appear due to the side effects of medicine. So coming to a conclusion and a proper diagnosis is often difficult. So you should have everything in mind while with the patients, that whether it is due to a side effect or whether it is the weakness of the person or many different factors. All these factors are to be taken into consideration. Then on we come to a right conclusion and also to a solution. So it is said that there are two different stages, mainly, that is Sukha Sadhya and Krishna Sadhya, that is applicable in all kinds of diseases. Sukha Sadhya is easily curable, and Asadhya, Sukha Sadhya is curable and Asadhya is incurable. There are two different stages. It depends the severity. And again, there is again a classification like the Sadhya into two. Sukha Sadhya and Krishna Sadhya. Easily curable and curable with effort. In that, there is a classification by Charaka as Mrudu and Daruna. Mrudu, soft. Daruna is hard. And the other side, you have the Asadhya rogas, which are incurable. Because you may not be able to bring back the dosha kapha. The doshas are in two different realms. Though we are learning it as one in Ayurveda, you have two types of doshas. One is the Prakriti and other is the Vikriti. The Prakriti that one receives when he is born cannot be changed. So if you are born with a Kapha Prakriti, you are Kapha Prakriti forever, throughout your life. You cannot change your body. A male cannot be made into female. Similarly, a Kapha Prakriti cannot be changed into Pitta Prakriti. A lean person by putting fat does not become a Kapha Prakriti. So Prakriti is the same. There will be some changes to the external structure of the Prakriti. That's all. So that Prakriti does not change, so you need not give any treatment to that. But you have functional Prakriti. That functional Prakriti has ups and downs. There will be depletion of dhatus and increase of dhatus, and you have this health issues. Everything happens on the functional Prakriti. So suppose a yoga, a disease is asadhya. It means the derangement started in the constitutional Prakriti by which you are born. Because the functional Prakriti has got an effect on the constitutional Prakriti. Suppose one die with sickness, the sickness is due to the functional prakriti, a derangement happening, which will have an impact on the structure or the constitution. So the constitutional prakriti is getting disturbed. So the same thing that we have in the Indriyasthana and Chikilsasthana. In Chikilsasthana, for each disease that we have, the lakshanas, ubadravas, like symptoms and signs and many things are there, separately for each disease. Based on that, we diagnose and come to the course of treatment and bringing back to the normal state. It is possible. But when you get problems with your constitutional prakriti by which you are born, you cannot normalize it and bring back to the normal state, because once it started losing, it will lose forever. And those signs are found in the Indriyasthana or Vikriti Vijnana. Yasya Gomaya Churnapam Churnam Mudri Drishyate. If there is a dust kind thing like cow dung on the forehead, it is an indication of death. And here it is mentioned that in Pada, there is a swelling on the feet, which comes to your abdomen and the head, face back. Then it is a clear indication of death. Similarly, from the face down to the feet for women, these are indications of death. So these indications are irrecoverable, which you cannot bring back to the normalcy, because it affects the root of your existence. The tree has an existence on the root. If the problem is with the trunks, that you can cut off and then again the trunk started growing. But if it is at the root, and you cannot do anything, because once the root is cut, the tree is gone forever. So similarly, the constitutional defect is the lakshanas founded in the Indriyasthana or Vikriti Vijnana. That is also related to the doshas, in connection with the doshas, which you cannot. So what is health ultimately? It has two phases. In the treatment, we should be careful about. One is the Shuddhi and other is Pushti. These are the two things. Shuddhi means purity or the cleanliness of the dhatus and also the channels, the nadis or siras or theminis, and also the ashiyas, amashya, pakvashya, and the different locations. So this is the same thing which is said in the Rasayana Chikitsa also, that the Shuddhi of the dhatus is absolutely the treatment of Rasayana. Labhopayo hisasthanam rasadinam Rasayana. Rasayana treatment is the labhopaya, the means to achieve the optimum health of the dhatus. How do you get the optimum health of the dhatus? First, the dhatus are to be cleaned and purified. And that's the first thing to be done, for which we have the Panchakarma techniques, the Shodhanas, and also the Shamana techniques. Shamanas are also Shodhana, but in the long run, you don't know when it happens. It happens gradually. And instantaneous cleaning is happening in the Panchakarma, the Shodhana Kriyas. These are the difference. And that is a kind of Shuddhi. And also your Ahara, Vihara, everything makes a Shuddhi. Even Ahara is purifying your body. Your thoughts are cleaning your channels. Thoughts are cleaning your dhatus, chinta. And your pranayama is cleaning. The way you are breathing is very important. The way you are thinking is important. The way you are living is important. The way you are working is important. Everything is related to health. That's why we have this patya discipline very much in the treatment procedure. Some people think that by taking medicines, everything will be all right. No. It is depends upon how do you live. How you live, that is most important. See that in many cases that we say, that Shastra says here, Vikaranam akushalo na jahriyal kadachana, nahi sarva vikaranam namadosti dhuvasthiri. Vikaranam akuchala. Vikara here means the disease. Akuchala, one who is not able to manage it. Akuchala, one who doesn't know the name of the disease, need not be ashamed of. Because every disease has got, each and every disease has got no name. Only few of them got name, and some of them are just to be assumed. So it is only an assumption, and what you know in it is the dosha kopa and also dosha sthiti, where it appears, where it localizes, what is the samprapti. Even if you do not know, or even if you don't remember or could not recollect the name, that also doesn't matter. You should know how to treat. That's it. So one thing we always forget, and we have a lot of other influences also in the Shastra, like we believe that we can have sprouts. We believe that curd is good. We believe that milk is not good. Such kind of many wrong assumptions and wrong notions are there. We should not go against the Shastra. Shastra is always perfect. Because this knowledge, it is said in the Shastra that idam agama siddhatval pratyaksha phaladarshanal mantraval samprayoktaviyam na mimamsam tattva. Vakada says, I got it from agama. That is from the Samhitas, Charaka, Sutraasthana, and the other. Pratyaksha phaladarshanal, and also got the experience, direct experience of all this. Mantraval samprayoktaviyam. So you can use it like a mantra. There is no doubt in it. And we always try to find out whether this is true or not, whether this can be effective or not, or whether we need to do research on the medicine, what we have been traditionally using. How can we prove that this is working or not? See, we had a system, and those who were in the Gurukula will definitely know that. The thing is that how Vagpadasi is like this. Like in the modern parameters in the research, we have the tools to check the Shastra and its intuitivity, that we have the different parameters. And that parameters are called pramana. That is the real need of learning the darshanas. Darshanas, you have the elucidation of pramana, especially in Nyaya and Mimamsa. In rest of the Shastra, you are just receiving the pramanas like Pratyaksha, Anumana, Aptobadesha. And these are the tools, or these are the methods of testing it and making it authentic, the Shastra. Unless you prove it with the pramanas, you don't need to receive it and accept. So in all the Shastras, all the texts like Ashtanga, Charaka, Sushruta, it is said that it is proved by the pramanas. The need of the pramanas, what is pramana? What is pramana nirupana? All these things have to be learned first. So that's why in olden times, though the Vaidyas are not very proficient and good and not having the deep insight of Shastras, they were good at treatment, and also they had the faith in the Shastra. The reason is they believe in it once Shastra is said, because Shastra is the very knowledge which is well refined and filtered by the Brahmans. So today we don't know what is Pramana. Why do we learn the Padartha Vijnana? We don't know the real use and efficacy of Pramanas. We need to adopt it, we need to check it, and Vagpada says that with the Pramanas it is filtered and cleared and refined. Such knowledge is given. That's why he says you will use like a mantra. In mantra, you don't need to know the result of it because it is sound vibration. Like you are prescribing a medicine to a patient. You have a prescription in which there are 3 ingredients. The patient need not know what are the ingredients. By taking the medicine, by knowing the ingredients makes no difference. Even without knowing it makes no difference. The thing is that by taking the medicine, it will have. Similarly, mantra, the meaning is not important, there is sabda. That's why he say mantraval samprabha. So, na ambupeyam, it is said in the 5th chapter of Ashtanga Hridaya, na ambupeyam ashaktya va solpam alpagni gulmipi, pandudera adisar arsho gahini do shosha chotpi, hriday sharan nidakapyam pivel sotho vyapis. This is very significant point that everyone should understand. You always ask the doctor how much water I can drink. How much water I can drink? 1 liter, 2 liter, 4 liter, 5 liter. And people always carrying water bottles and drinking without knowing when to drink, how to drink. But our Shastras say that Nambhupeyam achakya va solpam alpagne gulmati. Because it is forbidden for certain people who are having diseases like this. And most of the diseases mentioned in them are connected to the Shota or a state of Vidaha. Whom this water intake is forbidden. Alpagni. Alpagni is one. Alpagni is there is no Agni Deity. Gulmipi, Gulma. Gulma is also coming under this category of Shrota. Pandu, it is again coming in this Shrota. Udara, again. Adisara, Arsha. Arsha is also coming in this category. Grihini, Shodhipi, Shrota, Shopha. So in these diseases, you should not take much water. For a renal failure, those creatinine level is higher. The doctors say that don't take too much of water, and limited water intake is normally recommended. Otherwise, there won't be the filtration of this kidney filtration, and the body will get swelling. So to avoid that, that water content will be more. So there will be problems with swelling. That is the thing. So the same thing we follow, that it is said even before that if you take this kidney failure and things like due to Pandu, then it is definitely there. Pandu, Udara, Arsha, Adisara, all these cases. Even in liver damages, you see, less intake of water. And he said, Hriday Sharan Nidakapyam, especially in Sharatkala and Nidakakala, that is summer and the Sharatkala, the autumn season, even a healthy person should drink very little water other than summer and autumn. These two seasons, the more heat will be there. The sun is very powerful, so you need more water because it dries up the water in the body. Otherwise, you should take. So body has got a mechanism which we should follow. First thing, for health, that is very important. That when the hunger is there, you have to eat. Body knows when you have to eat, when the dhatus need nourishment. The other thing is water. You feel thirsty, then you drink. You feel to evacuate, you go to toilet and give pressure. You feel to urinate, you go to urine and pass the urine. So all these things that happening because body has got such a mechanism to clean it and maintain it, and you need to observe it, listen to it. Listen to your body. That is what Ayurveda say. That's what yoga say. Listen to your body and follow it, and try to tune it and with the natural. So this body is to be tuned like a television that you tune to get the correct picture and the sound. In that way, you have to tune it to the natural. Then you can be healthy because it's a balance. Absolutely, the individual is getting balanced in the totality, and that is the principle adopted by Acharya and all. And see, the second thing is pushti. I told first thing as Shuddhi, and second is pushti, nourishment to the dhatus, which is possible by food and positive living conditions. And more than that, rasayana treatments gives the dhatu portion. So the nourishment to the dhatus. So these are the two main things. Parishramam yataharo bhukata vasini suto tau anadriti devaham vaidyamanjam samasrave. It is said that there are two physicians or Vaidyas on earth like the gods, Ashini Devas for the gods as physicians. These Ashwins are two, Parishramam Mitahara. Parishrama, the physical work, physical exertion. You get discipline of the body by movement. You get the discipline of the mind by stillness. Silence makes you still, and silence makes your mind still, and that is the health of the mind. And movement makes your body healthy. So for that, you need to use your muscles, use your body, use the dhatus to get the optimum health. That is parishrama, exercise. The second thing is mitahara, the moderate diet that can digest the food. So more than the food, the importance is to the Agni in Ayurveda. If Agni is not there, no, you cannot digest even nutritious food and no, and there is no assimilation. So these are the two physicians I always follow. Disregarding them, I would not go to any physicians or any Vaidya. These are the great Vaidyas to whom you should follow. So main causes for kind of Shodha or Vidaha that happening in the body is the food habits, the food pattern. Certain things you have to completely avoid. One is curd. And it is said that curd one should not take daily, nanityam. And nanisha, not in the night and not hot. These are the three things that you should remember in it. You should not take it daily. If you take it daily, that could produce kushta. Not night, because it is viruddha. And not hot, that is again viruddha. So like that, these are the specifications given for the intake of this. And there is certain other things which that without amalaka or without supa or mudga, we should not take it. Certain things are there. So then vidahi annam, vidahi. I told and explained what is vidaha. So sprouts like and curd, all these are vidahi. And virudha. Virudha is actually sprouts. Then what is really the vidaha is ushna shita samurchan. Ushna and shita together, as I told in the beginning itself, a red hot iron in water. That produces the fluence. The same thing happening in the system. First in the bread, then to the rest of the thoughts. This is what we have to avoid, so that many diseases can be avoided, for which food is very important. While using mudga, you have to be very careful that mudga, that grain gram, alpachala, it produces little gas or little vata in the system, for which you need some, either the curd or ghee, a combination of that, so that you can maintain your health and be healthy. So Vishtampi, Guru, Viruddhanam, Vidahi, and Pittarakta Kovana. These are the things that you have to be careful about. So what is health then? Health and happiness that we are longing for in life. How do you get it? It depends upon when you get up in the morning and start your day. That is what Ayurveda begins with. Rame Muhurta Tishthe, Swasthora Charthamayusha, Shagire Tintanmurva. So you have to be first careful about to be healthy, to be happy. You can be happy by getting up early in the morning at 4 o'clock. That is Brahma Muhurta. Pancha Ushatkale, it is said like that, that before getting sunrise, that if you get a 5 Muhurta, Pancha Ushatkale, that is about 2 hours before, at 4 o'clock. Then follow the Sasthajariya, that is important in practical life. You should have a routine. You should develop a, because the day is divided into 5 segments. In each segment, you have certain things to do. And while taking the food, you should not do something else. There is a time for that. Every time, every charya is fixed, depending upon muhurta. If you follow that, that's why you are asked to do or get up in the Brahma Muhurta and start your day. So it depends upon when you get up and when you start the day. And the lifestyle, the food, the thoughts, all are the controlling agents, and you can have a happy life with all this. So be happy, be healthy, So this particular chapter is not a particular disease. This particular chapter paves the way to you to be healthy and to understand the rest of the diseases. And many diseases, not a single disease, and to be healthy. And it indicates many things. As I told, this chapter is a sutra. It's in a sutra rupa or aphorism that indicates many things. Alpacharamasan diktam bhurtam vishadomukam, it is said. A sutram sutra vido vido. One who knows sutra knows this. Sutra is alpartha, alpa. Only few words are used and which indicates many different things. That is, range of application is wide. Similarly, wide range of application with single and simple statements. So you can take it as many times you read, so much you can use it and understand. See, I have been reading this book for many years now. That is more than 40 years. 45 years, I think. And each time I understand it differs and new things are coming up. Sometimes I forget many things, but of course, something is new. So this kind of, that is really inspiring you and more giving you motivation as much you know. This kind of sadhana, not reading a text, a lesson, and go to the next lesson. A sadhana, repeated practice, like yoga. The same yoga I did that 40 years back I am doing right now. But my feeling is different, body experience is different, thoughts are different. Because that transformation it can make in you. So like that, if you follow these chapters one by one, not a single reading, whenever you need, whenever a chance comes, an opportunity or a patient comes, you open the pages and read it. Like that, if you make it 100 times or 1,000 times, then you become a real scholar. The knowledge is not in the book, knowledge is what left with you, and that you will be able to use and get well for yourself and others. As much you know, so much good it is. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. With these words, I conclude and thank you all for giving me an opportunity to this session. And it was the dream of Krishnakumarji which we follow. And thank you all for attending and participating in this. May God bless you. Thank you. Pranams.
Namaste, sir. As usual, it was a wonderful session. You imparted such a depth in knowledge, very simply and understandable for all of us. Dear students, if anybody has any questions, please unmute yourself and ask.
Namaste.
Namaste, namaste. How are you?
Wonderful. Hear you.
Yeah, fine, fine. Traffic.
Yes, again.
Yeah, didn't see you for a long time. Okay.
And I really enjoyed the class.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to you. And is it possible that you can tell about the Sutraasthana? You told very nicely how the 17th and 18th chapter are connected, but the full 30 chapters, how they are connected?
Yeah, all the chapters are connected together. It is like a garland is made with flowers, you know. What is Sutraasthana? Sutra is a thread that connecting all the flowers. But when it is made a garland with flowers, you see only the garland, not the sutra in it. The sutra is hidden, and that connects everything together. So Sutraasthana is not a separate chapter or separate sthana from the rest of the sthanas, and it is the very foundation of it. If the sutra is broken, then the garland is scattered and fragmented, and each flower goes separately, and you cannot collect them together. So sutra is the hidden principle. Based on that, everything is flourished and made, decorated. So without which it cannot survive. I think that in olden times, that in the traditional parampara, that the Vaidyas, especially everywhere, but in Kerala, I know that among the Ashtavaidyas and all, they mainly focus on the Sutraasthana, not the entire 30 chapters of Ashtanga Hridaya, the first 14 chapters. A real intense study of the first 14 chapters one by one and make it by heart. So that advantage is if you know exactly and made a good foundation, a firm foundation of these 40 chapters, you need to read the rest of the chapters. Even you need not go to a guru and learn with him the rest of the chapters. By reading it, you would understand. This was happening in my practice and my studies when I was with my guru. That not only in Ashtanga Hridaya of Charaka Samhita, in most of the subjects I was taught. After some time, he asked me to read that the Trichodhiyam I remember, actually he didn't explain to me. So whatever I told and whatever I explained in the classes, my creation that is based on his teachings. So in the Krishodhiya chapter, he asked me to read the book. And after each stanza, he would ask, did you understand? Yes, then go to the next. See, and that way the foundation is built. Because of the foundation that you will be able to read and understand, not to learn and understand. And that reading is not with him. And after that, many years I read it. And this is the way it is built. So there is a connection of the 30 chapters. Not only the 30 chapters of Sutraasthana, the Sutraasthana is connected to the next. That is the Nidana-sthana in Charaka. Then comes the Sharira, then the Indriya-sthana, Vimana-sthana, all these sthanas one by one, they are connected together. And each text has a different way of explaining, so different kind of arrangement of the chapters and the sthanas. Because it depends upon the integrity, it depends upon the depth of the subject. The Charaka Samhita is something different because it's not that only confined to an individual, and also this kind of dosha baba in an individual, and that prescribing some remedy for the sickness. In the understanding of Samhitas, a human being is a miniature of the universe, and you are a part of it. And like that, many individuals forms this universe, and you are part of it, and you are the microcosm and part of the macrocosm. So you are part of the totality, and individual is a part of totality. And while examining a patient and dealing with a disease, you should understand the human body also in a totality, not a particular area or a particular part of doshas. In totality, you have to find out and diagnose where the doshas are and which dhatu the doshas which get accordingly. So it gives you a different picture of an individual, a different picture of a human being, connect to the nature and to the divine. So in that aspect, that arrangement of chapters are different. If it is just confined to an individual, when you come to the level of Ashtanga Hridaya and all, that it is in a different line of explaining and more focused on an individual. Though every principle is there, totality is there, but it is more confined to an individual. So there is a different order of arrangement of chapters and the sthanas. So one who has learned Ashtanga Hridaya should not look back to this Charaka to be the same kind of explanation, because these are two different subjects and two different way of dealing with it. So that way, that from the beginning to the end. So one who really start learning it can understand it. It is not something that can be explained in a class also. Now you know that in 1 hour or 2 hours of listening, how the 17th chapter, 18th chapter, and 19th chapter are connected. In that way, from the beginning, there is a connection. Otherwise, these three would not connect. And the rest are also connected. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Heike, and thank you, sir. Anybody? Dr. Aditya. No? Anybody else has questions? Baswati? Dr. Baswati? Dr. Baswati, you are not audible.
Please unmute and ask.
She is unmute, sir, but I think she is having some connection problems.
Okay.
In the meanwhile, anybody has questions regarding this chapter or Charaka Samhita? Yes, it is better now.
Okay, sir. Namaste, sir. Nice to see you. There is a statement you made earlier that shofa and shota are synonyms, you said.
Yeah.
But every Sanskrit word has a particular nuance of difference. They are never the same. So I'm still trying to understand the subtle difference between shofa and shota.
They are not just synonyms. They are one and same, from the same root. I told they are synonyms, but not actually synonyms. Sotha and sotha. It is in the grammatical order. The word tha, that according to the grammar, I don't remember exactly the sutra, that tha can be used in the place of tha. So the same root and same meaning, not a different meaning. Because like that, I don't exactly remember the particular sutra of the Kaumudi, that is Panini. But tha becomes pa in a particular condition, in a particular sutra, it becomes like that. It can either be used. You know that vasti is called basti, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that there is no difference actually. Vabayoho abheda. There is no difference between va and pa. They are used interchangeable. Like that, shopha and shota are interchangeable and having the same meaning, like vasti or basti. And you know that very well because you are based in Bengal and you know where ba is used, right? Okay.
But they are both written as ba. They are both written as va. Only Aruna Datta writes ba, and that's in commentary. But in
That is,
Charaka, in some places, he also writes shota and he also writes sofa. So it's not a ba and va difference. It's an actual, maybe grammatical difference based
grammatical
on the words coming before
yeah,
and after.
grammatical same root, but the utterance is different. That's all.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Baswati. Dr. Dhanu Sri Abhilash.
Sorry, I was not able to hear. That's why I was.
Hello. Tanishri, how are you? Tanishri. Yeah.
Hello,
Tell me. I can't hear you. I'm not audible.
sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, I was not able to hear you, sir. That's why I was trying some other options. So it became on. I mean, got unmuted. That's all. Nothing to ask.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Sir, I think everybody understood everything very well, and there are no more questions.
Okay.
In the middle of the class also, sir, there was no questions, sir.
Okay. So
Can
very
conclude,
nice.
I think.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. As usual, your class explanation was beautiful and wonderfully done. Your love for Charaka came through a lot. How much you adore this text, you understand this text and follow this is actually very visible for everybody who listened to this. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you for so much for being a part of Samhita Tattva Vichara. Thank you from the whole team. And you are also in our own team, so we don't have to, think of you as an outsider. You are our own guru. So thank you, sir. Thank you for coming to our program. Thank you so much.
Rams to all. Thank you.
Dear students, Samhita Tattva Vichara concludes now. We will resume.